Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Justin Paperny. Hope everyone is doing well, and I'm really grateful that you're giving me your attention today. And I want to offer this advice, and anyone has a lawyer, looking to hire a lawyer, has some frustrations with their lawyer, grab a pen and paper. I'm going to give you some notes because what I want you to do is implement what I teach you today. These videos, our work at White Collar Advice or Prison Professors, is of no value unless we implement what we teach. And in this video today, I'm going to talk about, is your defense attorney simply an order taker? I'm going to get into what that means here in a few moments. Before I do, I'm not criticizing all lawyers. Before this call today, I sent 3 clients to 3 separate lawyers here in Los Angeles with whom our team does a lot of work. David Willingham, lawyer, U.S. attorney that actually indicted me, who's now a friend and defense attorney. Joel Athey, who is my lawyer, and Lou Shapiro, an excellent lawyer. So when I create these videos on how to hold a lawyer accountable, it's not to criticize and bash all lawyers. There are some phenomenal lawyers. Unfortunately, not every defendant or someone who hires a lawyer has the best experience with their lawyer. So it's for that reason I want to offer some insights and help you understand what you can do to get the best outcome. And for those who are on the White Collar Advice channel or Prison Professors, both on Facebook and YouTube, you're here for a reason. It's not to hear me speak and waste your time. I know how busy you are. I'm grateful you're giving me your attention, but rather to ensure you get the best possible outcome. And to get the best outcome, you need to know that your lawyer understands the story and is not simply an order taker. So let me help you understand this. Frequently, I will get calls from defendants who are home from prison and they'll say, my plea agreement was not accurate. I signed an agreement that did not reflect the truth. I'm frustrated. I get calls, our team gets calls from people who have just pled guilty, and they'll say, this plea agreement is not accurate. It's not right. The points are higher than it should be. I'm getting excited. I'll try to calm down a second. The plea agreement is not where it should be, and I've admitted to things that I don't think are right, and I'm so frustrated, and what do I do, and what do these guidelines mean, and I'm so mad at my lawyer and myself and the government, and incredibly frustrated. So I would tell you that 8 out of every 10 defendants sign a plea agreement they don't necessarily agree with. The government is trying to recreate what happened going back many years in some cases. Our team has 2 clients right now who are under investigation for things they did in 2011 and 2012. The government now in 2020 is trying to work their way back 8 or 9 years. So it's very difficult to do. So for that reason, it's not always going to be accurate. Still, like your probation report, you want it to be as accurate as possible. Well, how can you do that? Well, unfortunately, a number of defendants who are frustrated over the plea agreement they've signed blame their lawyer. Let's talk about that for a few minutes. In order for your lawyer to get you the best outcome, it's incumbent on you to make sure they fully understand everything about your case. They understand all of your conduct, the motivations behind your choices, the actual choices themselves. It's integral that they understand everything. Some defendants remain in denial, and because of that, they can't really articulate what they did. That happened to me, and I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. Again, if you're looking to hire a lawyer, you want to better hold your lawyer accountable, I want you to take some notes. I'm going to give you some takeaways on what to do next. So besides you being able to tell your story properly, what do you then do with the lawyer? Unfortunately, too many lawyers, from what I've heard and seen, don't fully understand what their clients have done. And that's where this phrase order taker comes up. I didn't create this phrase order taker. I got a call from a client recently who said, dude, I feel like my lawyer is simply an order taker, nothing more. I said, well, tell me more. And he said, I want my lawyer to try to negotiate a deal for me and articulate to the U.S. attorney that I want to accept responsibility. And every time he calls the U.S. attorney says something to him, okay, 1 count of conspiracy, obstruction, X amount of restitution, this is what I'm going to ask for. And my client's like, it's almost like my lawyer says, okay. And then my lawyer calls me and says, this is what the U.S. attorney said. And my client was like, well, that's a terrible deal. That doesn't make sense. They're asking me to plead guilty to things I didn't do. That's ridiculous. What did you say? What did you articulate? Did you sell anything? And my client said, his lawyer's like, well, look, this is what they're offering. This is the best that I can do. If you don't like it, we can always go to trial. And that was so upsetting to my client, who clearly wants to accept responsibility, but who also only wants to be held accountable for what he did. And that's where he came up with this phrase, my lawyer is simply an order taker. He takes an order from the U.S. attorney, he relays it to me. I relay it to my lawyer. He then relays it to the U.S. attorney. He comes back. He's simply a middleman. There's no negotiating. There's no selling. There's no mitigating. What are we doing? And so I reminded my client, or I asked my client, does your lawyer know every detail? Yes, Justin, I'm not in denial. I'm not in la land. I'm not living like an ostrich with my head buried in the sand. I broke the law. I did it. I want to plead guilty. I ain't going to trial. I ain't got the money. I want to move on with my life. But the government is asking me to plead guilty and acknowledge things that I did not do. And I won't do that. I won't do it. That is not justice. Then he said, that's why I've given this lawyer a lot of money. Now, at the end of the day, my client said he may not prevail, but at least I want to know my lawyer did absolutely everything. So what's one way that you as a defendant or any lawyer that you may hire, how can you hold someone accountable? How can you hold a lawyer accountable? What are some steps that you can put in place to ensure that if your lawyer is negotiating a divorce settlement, the negotiation of a plea agreement, a bankruptcy, whatever it may be, what can you do to ensure your lawyer is not simply an order taker relaying information back and forth that, frankly, anyone could do? You don't need a law degree to relay information back and forth, and you certainly should not be paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to a lawyer for them to relay information back and forth. You're using their intellect, their ability to think and create and negotiate and find nuances inside of these cases that no other lawyer could find. Hence the reason you hired them and gave them a lot of money. So an exercise I engage in with every client before they've pled guilty or before they've been sentenced. They'll walk into their lawyer's office before that lawyer has agreed to reach out to the U.S. attorney to try to negotiate a deal. And this is what our clients will walk into they'll walk into the law office and simply say, hello, Mr. Lawyer. It's very good to see you. Thank you for taking the time to see me. Are we on the clock? Just kidding. Mr. Lawyer, I have a question for you. What did I do? And you just listen. Help me understand, Mr. Lawyer, my conduct as you see it. Why did I do it? What were the motivations behind what I did? The U.S. attorney told you last week I'm just a greedy, lazy defendant. Do you agree with that? Do you think that why I did this, it was greed? Help me understand it. So I've actually had clients recently go into their lawyer's office and say simply that. Help me understand what I did. They just sit there and listen. And they know within our clients, they're executives, they're leaders, they're businessmen. They know. My client, our team know. Our clients are really smart guys. They might have made some out of character choices that got them in the crosshairs of the criminal justice system, but we work with some really smart people here at White Collar Advice. They know if they're being misled and being lied to. So in some cases, my clients have been telling us the lawyer sits there like deer in the headlights, cannot fully articulate what they did, cannot fully express why they broke the law. Therefore, that lawyer is not in a position to call the U.S. attorney and negotiate the most favorable deal or ensure that it's correct. Now, I've had some clients who are pretty aggressive go crazy to the point of threatening to fire the lawyer. Rather than fire the lawyer and you're not going to get money back, I say getting money back from a lawyer, you have a better chance of getting a pardon from the president. Learn to better hold the lawyer accountable. So I had a client recently in Pensacola tell the lawyer, he lives a little south of Pensacola, told the lawyer, this wasn't a great meeting. Wasn't a great meeting. We've been together 3 months, giving you a lot of money. I got a lot of bills that I pay on time. I came in here today to listen to you tell me how well I share for you to tell me what I did, why I did it. For you to tell me how you can best sell what I did and didn't do to the U.S. attorney. And you couldn't do it today. You rambled, you excused, you weren't ready, yet you're ready to call the U.S. attorney to try to get a favorable deal from me. You can't sell it because you don't know what I did. I'm coming back next week. We're going to do the whole thing all over again. So I have clients, our team has clients all over the country walking into their lawyer's office. To the extent that you can do it in person, you should. Walking into their lawyer's office and simply saying, tell me what I did. Tell me why I did it. Tell me what you've learned. Tell me how you can sell this to the U.S. attorney. Walk me through why my conduct is different than my co-defendant. Walk me through why the U.S. government's version of events is wrong and how you're going to sell that. If you can do that, if you can walk in and ask that question and listen, you're going to know your lawyer's ready to sell it and negotiate, Or you're going to know if he's an order taker, like I was in college. When I was at USC, my sophomore year, I waited tables at a restaurant called Daily Grill. Hello, how are you? I'm Justin. Nice to meet you. What would you like? Oh, you'd like a cheeseburger and fries and a Coca-Cola? Perfect. Let me get that and bring it back. That's an order taker. Hard work, but anyone can pretty much do it. You've hired a lawyer and you paid him big dollars. So as I wrap up, I want to clarify that some of the onus is on you to tell the story correctly. For example, in my plea agreement, there was language that said I took kickbacks. I didn't, but I couldn't articulate properly that I didn't take kickbacks. I didn't sell it to my lawyer, and frankly, I don't know if they believed me. I don't know if they really wanted to get to the facts. And I share this story with you because when I came home from prison, I lectured at the FBI Academy in Virginia. Paul Bertrand, the agent that arrested me, very active with the hands. Paul Bertrand, the agent that arrested me as a friend, invited me to the academy to speak. And after I shared my story to the agents, he called me aside and said, Justin, you didn't take kickbacks. I said, I know. I tried to tell you that years ago. He's like, well, we didn't believe you. We didn't understand it. You couldn't tell your story. You couldn't articulate your story as well as you did today. And I said, well, that's serving time in prison and writing hundreds of thousands of words and reading hundreds of books and chronicling the journey and learning how I ended up here. You got to do that before you go to prison or get sentenced. So the onus is on you to fully understand the pressures you faced, the rationalizations you gave into, and the opportunities you seized. The onus is on you to articulate that to your lawyer properly. Then if you have done that and you have held nothing back, you are then in a position to hold your lawyer accountable. And as I wrap up this video in the next minute, I'll say it again. Grab a pen and paper if you're looking to get the shortest possible sentence in the most favorable prison, and you have a lawyer you are not convinced is doing all they can to ensure you get the best outcome. Walk into their office, call them a phone and say, what did I do? Help me understand it. Walk me through why I did it. Only then you will know if your lawyer is negotiating and selling and mitigating rather than simply taking and relaying orders from the U.S. attorney. That is not what you want. And that's not how you're going to get the best possible outcome. So here's what I want you to do next. I want you to implement what I talked about in this 12-minute video. I want you to implement and hold your public defender, court-appointed lawyer, or white-collar defense attorney that you've given a lot of money to accountable. Then drop me a note. Let me know how it goes. Let me know if when you ask that question, are you ready? Can you tell me my story and why did I do it? Let me know if your lawyer is ready to respond. And I'd also love to hear the lawyers that can rattle it off and say, yes, this is what you did, and this is what I'm going to sell, and this is why you're different from your co-defendant. I want to refer clients to that type of lawyer that's vested and just doesn't view it as a job and is so desensitized to seeing so many clients go to prison over the years. Drop me a note, send me an email, and I look forward to returning soon, next week, with another Facebook Live, and wish you all well through this very difficult journey. I assure you, if I can get through it well and strong and ready, so can you. You just got to work and you have to have the right plan. And I'm very grateful that you're giving us your attention during this very difficult time. Wish you all well. Back soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.